Good afternoon and a warm welcome. This is Labeltv, your Pan-African International channel. You are watching the 7th round, the program that takes a look at issues on the news. As usual, we are going to discuss two topics in this episode. The demise of the Cote d'Ivoire's Premier, Ahmed Bakayoko, and the International Day for Women. My name is Joe Willie. Joining me is Uche Chinwe. Uche, you are welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Willie.
And from Dakar, Senegal, our studio in Dakar, Senegal, is Sidela Neyman. Hello, Sidela.
Hello, Mr. Willie. Hello, Uche. Hello, viewers. I hope everyone is doing fine this afternoon.
How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Okay, we will discuss this after this report. Ahmed Bakayoko was receiving treatment for cancer, passed away on Wednesday, just days after his 56th birthday. He was appointed Prime Minister in July, following the sudden death of his predecessor, Amadou Coulibaly. President Alassane Ouattara described Bakayoko as a great statesman, an example to young people, and a man of exemplary loyalty. Ahmed Bakayoko was flown to France in February for medical tests and was later transferred to Germany due to his deteriorating health. A former media executive who turned to politics, he played a prominent mediation role in Cote d'Ivoire's civil war during the first decade of the century. He was a key player in the political game and a major player in reconciliation. It is a true sham. Isiaka Sangara, spokesman for the opposition Ivorian Popular Front, told journalists. Aside from his role as Prime Minister, Bakayoko was also the country's defense minister. Patrick Ache has been appointed as interim Prime Minister, while Teni Brahima Ouattara, a young brother of the president, has been named interim defense minister. Thank you for being there. And let's begin the discussion now. As you might have heard from the report there, Bakayoko was appointed prime minister in July last year after his predecessor, Amadou Coulibaly, died of a heart attack, which on two consecutive periods, the prime minister, Cote d'Ivoire's prime minister, passing just away like that.
It's quite disheartening to have received the sudden death of Ahmed Bakayoko, popularly known as Hambak, a frontrunner to succeed President Ouattara, leaving a void and great vacuum in Cote d'Ivoire's political scene. Within 8 months, Alassane Ouattara lost 2 potential successors, and his death robs Alassane Ouattara of a close political ally and adds uncertainty to the succession battle. Ahmed Bakayoko was indeed a great statesman, a model for the youth, and exemplary loyalty. He was always there for the people, especially Abidjan youth. Bakayoko was appointed Prime Minister just last year, July, after the death of his predecessor, Amadou Coulibaly. In fact, I don't really understand why all these prime ministers, like, after some certain period, they will just pass away like that. It's quite disheartening.
Yes, hello, Sidela. Hello, Sidela, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Bakayoko was appointed Prime Minister in July and he has passed away just as his predecessor. What do you take? What is your take on that?
Well, it's really sad, first of all, and also people are talking when you are on social media and you try to see every reactions around the world, not only in Cote d'Ivoire but also in the whole of Africa and the diaspora outside of Africa. You would see that people are talking about the fact that this prime minister position is cursed. That is why people are talking about. We don't really know what is happening. Would I say it is cursed? I would not say it is cursed because I don't really know. But it's just really sad. It's just really sad.
Yes, indeed, it's very sad indeed. Uche, do you buy into that school of thought that the position of Prime Minister in Cote d'Ivoire is just a curse, as people want us to believe?
You will not say it's a cause because, death is something that you don't just decide when somebody is going to die.
Yes,
so I don't think it's a cause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the funeral ceremony for the late Ivorian PM has begun in Abidjan as the body arrived from Germany yesterday. When you look at, you saw the video of the arrival of the corpse. It reminded one of a sad moment for Cote d'Ivoire. In fact, what do you think the family? How you put yourself in the position of the family now?
My dear, I don't really know. In fact, it's quite sad because somebody that just went from France to Germany, every other person is expecting to hear the good news that he's recovering. Then all of a sudden, we just received the news of his death.
Yes, the news of his death.
And just last week, the Cote d'Ivoire president visited him in France, even before they now decided to fly him to Germany.
To Germany, yes. Sidela, what
yes.
Why is it quite often that when a senior government official is sick in Africa, we have to take them for treatment in a European country where they have health structure or health well developed? Why couldn't it be in our own country where maybe a government minister should be treated when they are sick?
Well, it tells a lot about our infrastructure, of course. It just means that we don't have the sufficient infrastructure to treat particular diseases. It just says a lot. If the person has to go abroad, well, it also has to make them rethink about our situation as African countries, our infrastructure situation as African countries, you know.
Yes, but because if you look at the last trend, when we see most of these our African leaders being evacuated to European countries, particularly maybe France, some of them do not come back. You look at the Senegal opposition leader that was also taken there. He did not come back alive. The Golibale went there. He did not come back. And then we have to why must we always take our men to that side when we believe that even the infrastructure that does not guarantee their life? Uche.
You know, one thing with all these politicians and political figures is they believe that we don't have any proper health system here in Africa. They believe that Africans cannot handle it. They cannot handle some certain diseases and sickness, just like the man died of cancer. Then here in Africa, we don't have that equipment, the radiation machines and every other thing to detect some certain.
They are the ones that are in the government that know that we have to fix our health infrastructure to be up to date so that if one is taken ill, you can be treated there without eventually being evacuated.
Then most of the times you see that they look at the medical doctors here in Africa. Most of them, because of the education background and everything, you see that they are not qualified. They are not qualified to handle such cases. That's why you always see them.
Do you think most of our African, let me put it that way, medical practitioners, doctors, are not competent enough to handle cases like maybe that of all these prime ministers, all these other top government officials that are being flown to France or any other country?
No, I don't think they are not qualified. I think the problem is really the infrastructure, because when we look back at the coronavirus vaccine that was discovered in America, it was discovered by a Nigerian doctor who actually was educated in Nigeria. He went to the university in Nigeria and he was able to discover this vaccine. So I don't think that our medical doctors or professionals who work in the health system are not educated enough or are not good enough. I think the problem is really the infrastructure. I think that's the problem. Yes,
the problem is really infrastructure, but because I think that last year we saw the King Hassan VI of Morocco, who was actually had a heart surgery in Morocco. So what does that think? If Morocco can have that kind of a hospital, what stopped Cote d'Ivoire, what stopped Nigeria, what stopped Gabon, what stopped Senegal from also having a good medical infrastructure that a government official can be treated? Because when one is taken out of a country for another country to be treated, especially European country, when it's come back, there is always a suspicion that maybe there is a foul play. Uche.
One thing I know. Come again with your question, please.
I say we had the King Hassan of Morocco, who was in fact had a heart surgery in his country, Morocco. What does that mean about the health system? I mean, infrastructure in Morocco.
It means that Morocco is coming up with some health infrastructures. If they can do an operation in their country, and the operation is what will I say? The operation is effective. Is well handled or properly handled. It means that the Moroccan health infrastructure is coming up. You cannot just say it's 100% okay yet. Yes, it's coming up.
When you look at that issue, when you look at Morocco's health sector, whether that this can have their king being treated in its own country, don't you think Senegal, Nigeria, Gabon, Côte d'Ivoire, or any other country in that nature can also measure up to that kind of a health infrastructure?
Well, of course, a heart surgery is a very serious operation. If the king himself trusted his medical staff and his health system enough to undergo this heart surgery in his own country, it means it knows he puts enough funds in his country, in his health system, to undergo the treatment. So I think the funding of the health system, that's what the Senegal or Côte d'Ivoire should put more emphasis on.
Okay, let's now look at the time of the Côte d'Ivoire Prime Minister Ahmed Bakayoko. He, at the age of 25, he founded a newspaper, they called it The Patriot, which initially aims to defend President Obeboye at that time. When you look at the profile of the Prime Minister, it was very rich. It was also being tagged as the one that negotiated all the crisis at that time at Côte d'Ivoire. How do you see Côte d'Ivoire missing a personality of this nature?
In fact, it will be greatly missed by all Ivorians, especially the youths and Alassane Ouattara, because he was really a very close ally to Alassane Ouattara. Indeed, Côte d'Ivoire, in fact, really lost a very great person, because when it comes to conflict, he always go to negotiate. He always know how to handle it before anything fall out of hand. He is always there to mediate, to correct everything.
Yeah, Sidela in 2017, he was appointed Minister of Defense, which granted him the management of several coups at that time within the country. How when you look at a personality of in the like of Ahmed Bakayoko, what does that mean for the Côte d'Ivoire missing just this kind of a personality?
Well, I think as Uche just said, he's really going to be missed in this country. He was a very charismatic political personality. He was really loved by the people, and he was really close to the people. If you go on social media, you will see videos of him dancing in concert. He was also really close to many artists.
Yes, he was very close to some of those artists, yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yes, go ahead.
So, as it was said in the report, it was also a mediator during the first Ivorian civil war. It was also in negotiations with Togo. So he was really a great political figure, and he is going to be greatly missed. And I think that his death is also weakening a little bit the President Alassane Ouattara, because he lost in just not even 1 year. I think he lost two of his prime ministers. So this whole situation, I think, is going to weaken him.
Yeah. Do you think as a human, what will be going on in the mind of the interim Prime Minister Aceh if The first one has gone, the second one has gone, and then this one is coming. What do you think will be going on in the mind of this interim Prime Minister? Okay, let me start from you.
I don't think anything will be going on in his mind because, anyway, there will be fear, but death is inevitable. You cannot just, because, in fact, there is no need fearing death because nobody knows when they are going to die.
Yes, yes, Silela, what do you think will be the interim Prime Minister actually will be thinking as at now concerning the position of the Prime Minister?
Well, what is going through his mind, I don't really know, but I think maybe people around him will maybe be scared. But I think just as Uche said, death is something that is inevitable. You cannot, if God decided that you're going to die, then you're going to die. So I think he should just do what he has to do and then don't worry and pray.
Okay, Uche, before we move into another discussion, which is International Women's Day, what is your last word here to the people of Cote d'Ivoire and even to the family of the deceased and the deceased family?
It's indeed Ahmed Bakayoko will be greatly missed because of the way he does things and the way he handles things, even in conflict situations. But that doesn't guarantee that the family should lose hope, because in everything that's happened, I believe he already done his part in the world. If that is how God wants it, he has completed his journey on earth. The family should take heart, the whole Ivorians, the whole Cote d'Ivoire as a nation should take heart. And I believe that God will bring in another person that will do much more better than Ahmed Bakayoko.
Yeah, yes, Sidela, your last word here.
Yes, I would say may his soul rest in peace. And Cote d'Ivoire is a great country. There are still many very good political, people in politics who are going to continue his work and continue everything that he did in the political field.
Yes, I hope God will give the Cote d'Ivoire the fortitude to bear the irreplaceable loss of their Prime Minister Ahmed Bakayoko. And that brings us to the end of the first discussion on this episode of the 7th round. We are looking at the International Women's Day, celebrated on every 8th March. When we come back, we are going to discuss more in details after this report.
International Women's Day celebrated on every 8th March of each year under the theme Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. This year's International Women's Day is like no other, as countries and communities start to slowly recover from a devastating pandemic. The chance to finally end the exclusion and marginalization of women and girls is here, but to do that, an immediate action is needed. And women must have the opportunity to play a full role in shaping the pivotal decisions being made right now as countries respond to and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Choices that will affect the well-being of people and the planet for generations to come. And you break down the deep-seated historic, cultural and socio-economic barriers that prevent women from taking their seats at the decision-making table to make sure that resources and power are more equitably distributed across the world. Women remain concentrated in the lowest paid jobs, many in extreme vulnerable forms of employment. Women are nearly twice as likely than men to lose their jobs during the COVID-19 crisis. Indeed, the pandemic dramatically increased the poverty rate for women and widened the gap between men and women who live in poverty. The United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, is working with countries across the globe to address these inequalities. Despite the barriers, women, especially young women, are at the forefront of diverse and inclusive movements for social change online and in the streets. That includes their leading role in taking a stand against climate change, fighting for a green economy, and pushing for women's rights. And more inclusive leadership and representation leads to stronger democracies, better governance, and more peaceful societies.
That report was by Uche Chinwe. And Uche, let me begin with you, International Women's Day. The theme was Women's in Leadership. Tell us, what is every year we come out, the international community will celebrate women. Why do you think women have to have a particular day where they are being celebrated?
Yes, of course, Mr. Willie. For the international community to celebrate women, I think is something worth celebrating. Just like when women lead, we see positive results. They cannot just lead and you see failures. And I believe in anything a woman does, there is always an impact that they always create.
Yes. Sidela, do you think women are creating more of impact than men in at this time?
I will not say that women are creating more impact than men. I think women are creating just as much impact as men are, maybe even less. And I think women are worth celebrating because women are just the pillar of their families. And unfortunately, in some parts of the world, particularly here in Africa, we can see inequalities between men and women. So I think it's always important to keep celebrating women.
Yes, when we talk about inequality, you only see it when it's come to the traditional or the cultural setting of each country. It varies, maybe in Africa. Even in Africa, it varies from country to country. So when we talk about inequality, it could be in sharing or it could be in terms of ownership of land, in terms of things like that. Do you think we have to shelve our culture or traditions to embrace equality with women?
This inequality of rating has been something like our forefathers started with because they believe there is no place for a woman in the society. Many believe that then those days I do hear women's education ends in the kitchen. That is where even the inequality started from. Because you cannot just get education and at the end of it a man will now suppress you to the kitchen without wanting you to go out and get some freedom or some impact or make some impact in the environment.
Yes.
So,
Cyrilla, when you look at this, because in terms of inequality, this has been an old song, if I may call it that way, which all of us have been singing, women, even men that really cares for women. How do you think women or society can fight inequality among women?
Well, it depends on what exactly we are talking about when we are talking about inequality. For example, if we look at inequalities, I would say access to education, access to employment. These two things, for example, access to education. Why are young boys being more educated than women? I will take the example of Tanzania, if I'm not mistaken. In Tanzania, when a girl is pregnant, they will tell her to stay at home while she's being impregnated by someone. So the boy is still going to school, but the girl has to stay at home. Why is that? First of all, is the mentality that we have to change. We have to change the mentality, first of all, thinking that the women always comes second or is less important than men. If you look at India, for example, I know it's not Africa, but when you look at India, for example, when women are pregnant, they prefer being pregnant with a boy than being pregnant with a girl because they consider being pregnant with a boy as a blessing. So I think we have to start. Yes. It starts with the mentality.
Yes, because that was why I said it is a cultural or traditional things that we have to fight, because it has been there. And now, yes, but for one to start now, it might take maybe some years to come to realize that if a young girl is pregnant and she has to continue going to school, and in fact, when you look at the girl being pregnant and you look at the uneasiness that attend to pregnancy, do you think she can cope with, if you want to take that as an example, cope with going to school at the same time? with that? Do you think she can manage with that? Maybe a girl is pregnant, she continue going to school at maybe a young age of 18 or 17.
It's quite hard. It's quite hard because even as a teenager, you don't even understand your body. Talk more of when you are pregnant with a baby, then you want to add the stress of being pregnant to going to school. So it's quite hard.
In that case, would the society will be blamed for saying, okay, you are pregnant, can you stay and get your baby and then you continue with school?
Pregnancy comes with complication. Then if the society accepted, okay, after the pregnancy you can go to school, then it's quite okay by me. But you find out that a situation, some girls will even get pregnant and even be the one to decide for themselves, I don't want to go to school anymore.
Yes, Ilela.
Yes, exactly. I think it's not the same situation. If I'm talking about the fact that the society prevents the girl from going to school. If the girl has complications with her pregnancy and everything and she's not able to go to school because of that, then okay, I can understand that. But if the society or the schools or the Minister of Education prevents them from going to school, forbids them.
If there is a rule and school rules and regulation that say
if you get pregnant, no more school, so that you don't corrupt others. Yes. When it becomes a system like I get pregnant, I continue my education, then other girls will follow that line.
So how do we reconcile that, Sidela?
Sorry?
How do we reconcile if it is a school regulation that said if a young girl gets pregnant, you cannot come to school with pregnancy, and then that might not be a discrimination, does it?
Of course it's a discrimination, it's unfair.
And why is it unfair?
Why are they not telling the boy who impregnated the girl not to go to school? Because I think it's a way of punishing the girl. I don't think they're thinking about the fact that maybe her pregnancy is going to be complicated. I don't think that's what they're thinking about.
No, what they are trying to avoid is let it not be like it is a system. It is a system like every normal girl should now get pregnant and keep bringing it to school.
And in that case, don't you think the parents have a bigger role to play to ensure that they talk to their words. Their words, both
the boy and the girl. Don't do this until a certain age.
First, your education, and then the pregnancy and every other thing can come
will be avoided.
Later. I think, don't you think so?
Of course, education starts at home. I think the parents have a great responsibility, but I don't think that preventing them from going to school is going to stop other girls or boys from doing what they have to do to get pregnant. I don't think that's the solution.
Yes, and another issue we have to look at it is that do you think women also are discriminated, or do you think there is inequality between men and women at the place of work?
Exactly, because you see, most of the times you see nearly 60% of women that do the same job as a man. You see that at the end of it, they earn lesser than the man. They earn lesser. Their salaries are being like...
Do you agree with that, Sidela?
Sorry?
Do you agree that men earn more money than men doing the same job?
Yes, this is something that women have been complaining about, the fact that they don't earn the same salary at work. That's something that women have been complaining about.
But in a situation where there is...
Not even only in Africa, it's all around the world.
Yes, not only all around, because I think in some establishment, there is a salary, a fixed salary for whether you are a man or a woman. That does not mean any discrimination.
I don't accept that, Mr. Willie. In the informal economy, you find out that most women, they do the same job as men. They do, in fact, they even do more than men. Then at the end of the month, you see them having lesser money.
I don't think so, because I still believe, because if you work in a government ministry, everybody is at par. But what advantage that women have is that if they are pregnant, they will go like 3 months and stay at home while a man who was responsible for the pregnancy will continue working. Is that not an advantage on the side
that
of the
does
women?
not guarantee anything, Mr. Willie, because you find out that even as women are working, you see that there are even the more that is still in poverty.
No,
instead of them to be growing, they don't even have money.
Maternity leave. Women do take maternity leave like 3 months. They go
Even
to
if
the
they
house
go for
and stay.
maternity leave, that shouldn't cut their salary.
So men are not having it. Because it takes two to tango. Cecilia, what is your take on this? Women having 3 months or 4 months maternity leave, and they will be resting with the baby at home, and the man that was responsible is still working.
Well, I think it's normal, Mr. Willie.
Okay, it's normal.
Don't. in some companies, men do also have paternity leave.
Okay.
They do.
You say what? You say some men?
In some companies, men also have, sometimes they get leave because they just had a baby.
Oh, no.
I know, no, seriously, in some companies, they do.
Yes.
I think I've never come across it before that because I would have loved to take a leave because I have a baby. Then I go and sit down at
Sometimes they do give men maternity
They
leave
do.
too.
Yes, they do.
That one is paternity leave, not maternity.
Yes, paternity leave, okay. But on a serious note, how do we tackle the problem of inequality? Let me start from you, Richard.
I think the society and the government should make a very big space for women to participate in decision making and in whatever thing that is involved in government, because I think that is where the main issue is. When women get involved, things become very easier for the nation.
Yes, I would agree with Uche. I would also say that there's already a lot of NGOs and associations who are working towards it. We need to empower women, we need to empower young girls to be to take care more of themselves. We also need to teach young boys how to respect women.
Yes.
That's also something very, very important.
Yes, I think with that note, we have come to the end of today's episode of the 7th round. We have to empower women to do more and also teach our young men how to respect women. With that, we have come to the end of today's episode of the 7th round. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned until we come to your way next Sunday. Goodbye.